Patrick Cook here. So welcome to session 30 of our Mandelbulb3D Epic Rendering tutorial series. In that last session, I ended it by saying, I think we're ready to render. I think we are. I think we've fine-tuned everything. We're just looking at the ambient shadows, talking about what it is. Making some adjustments. We rendered out the ambient shadows, and I think it looks pretty good. So, and we have our configuration up here. Okay, we've lost some things here. I need to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the actual parameters again. All right. And I'm looking for a 9,000 by 6,000. So I need to come back up here, and I need to get that back to 9,000 by 6,000. Okay. All right. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as an M3P, and I am looking at V6 with the DEAO over here. Good. I'm going to import the actual params. There's my 9,000. I want a anti-aliasing of just 2. All right. 3, a scale factor of 3 is going to give me a little bit higher resolution, but that gives me some leeway to work with some quality adjustments. Okay, anti-aliasing, Z buffer's off. I don't need it. I don't need it to save to M3Is. I have to save it. Let's try rendering. You see, I have to save it. It's saying no tiles to render. What it's really saying is you need to save the project. So let's save the project. All right, and I think I called it that one. Good. Okay. So we should be ready to go. Good. All right. So, I just punched the render button. What this is doing, let's see if we can get this so we can see it. Oh, that's probably gonna, that's good enough. So, while this is rendering, I think we came a long way. We came a long way, and we made our Mandelbulb scene. We adjusted the colors. We adjusted the lighting. We worked with the ambient shadows as a DEAO, ambient shadow calculation methodology. We brought our parameters into the main renderer. All right. And we determined that we want some overhead in terms of pixels so that we can work with the quality, and then we will downscale it to be pushed out to the printer. All right. So we figured out all of this material in here. All right. We said, look, give us some anti-aliasing, but don't go crazy about it. And we talked about why we should go with 4x4 tiles. Primarily, it's so that we are comfortable with the memory allocation, all right, on a per tile rendering basis. All right. And then we said, go ahead and render automatically, just keep going. So here you can see the ambient shadows are being calculated in our main. Now this is going to go white, indicating that we have done that tile has been rendered. All right. There's the ambient shadow. See how much longer that's taking? Because I had set that to 33. And I don't care. I don't care if it takes that long. It gives me an opportunity to go get a coffee, chat with you a little bit, and get out of this whole job to get a really good graphic that I'm going to go and take and do something with. Something memorable, something high quality, something that I'll be proud to say, I did that. All right? So I don't care how long it takes. I really don't. It'd take 10 times longer for all I care. I'm not doing an animation. I'm doing a still, and I want that still to be primo. All right? All right, so what we're going to do here is I am going to pause this video session. We're going to let this whole thing render out, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up this session afterward, and then we'll talk about what we get. Now we're coming up on a point where we're going to have all these tiles rendered out, and we're going to go back into that image J, which I did in wherever session it was, back there somewhere. But we're going to take a little bit more time, and rather than me just rushing through it and demoing it, I want to show you in detail how to go ahead and get these things merged back in. All right? So now it's working on tile number 2. It's finished tile number 1. All right, and so we are going to, we're gonna cut the camera right here, and I'll pick this up again when we're done rendering these tiles. Okay, so I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so the rendering of our tiles has completed. It has completed with no errors. It didn't crash or anything. So if we take a look here in the folder, Mandelbulb will automatically create a folder that will hold your tiles as they're being rendered. We can see here, if we just arrange these by date and time, our first tile finished rendering at 5:09. Our last tile finished rendering at 7:35. So we got about 2.5 hours that these 16 tiles required to render. So now, while we're here, I want to point out how this grid is arranged. In the file, there's some key pieces of data. You'll notice here that when it renders the tiles, it actually uses the name of the project and then appends to the end of the file an X with a number and a Y with a number. Okay? So that X, that refers to the rows. All right? And the Y refers to the columns. Okay? Now you'll notice here X1 and Y1 would be this tile right here that is in a square bracket with a 1, 1. The next file that was rendered is an X2 Y1. So here is your X2 Y1. The next tile that was rendered was X3 Y1. So here we go. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And then here is X4. All right, and then we start the new row, X2 Y2. All right, so you can see here that the arrangement is, if you watch my mouse pointer, it renders across and then returns to the next row, renders across, the next row renders across, the next row renders across. So we have like a reverse Z. Start over, the next row, start over, next row, start over. So that's the sequence that the tiles are rendered. All right, now let's take a minute here and take a look at our actual renders. Let's go to extra large, see what we got. There is our thumbnails in our Windows Explorer. Now let's pick one of these and take a look at it. Okay, let's pick this one right here. All right, Not too bad, not too bad. We got some work to do. I've lost some brightness, but the shadows held up nicely. You see this shadow area here? You can, let's get my magnifier up here. All right, there we go. You see right in here. You see that? You see the shadows down in there? You see the shadows? You can still see some detail. That's what I was going for. I don't want those shadows so hard and harsh that I don't see any detail. That's good. That's good. Okay. So just looking around, if I zoom in, I'm not seeing any what you know as oversampling, little white dots. That would be because of a bad DE setting. All right, so that's looking pretty good. The detail's holding up pretty good. I mean, I'm already zoomed in 235%, and the detail's holding up pretty good. There's 1,000%. I'm not looking for sharpness. I'm looking for white dots, oversampling. And I don't see any. So I would say that we have got a really good DE, distance estimate, setting here. And I think we've got some really, really good tiles. All right, so I have my 16 tiles that have all been rendered. All right, there was no loss of tiles. No tile seems to be corrupt. Boy, this is going to look good. This is going to look good. But this is the process of you get a really good graphic, one that you love. You work on the coloring, you work on the lighting, you work on the shadowing. Remember now, you got to stay with the DEAO method of shadowing. And I've got the quality of the shadow cranked way up. And that's one of the reasons why it took 2.5 hours to render 16 of these tiles, but it was worth it. All right, I think we're in great shape here to, in the next session, we will actually merge or stitch all of these things together. We're going to take our time, make sure you understand it. And I think by the time we're done with that merging, we're going to have a big high resolution image that I think we're going to be very proud of. We're going to be able to tweak it and perfect it, and I think we're going to be very happy with it. Okay. All right. I will see you in the next session, and we will continue this. I find that this big render is absolutely amazing, and I'm really not even touching the capability in terms of a big render. There's no reason here why I can't have 100,000 pixels. I can do it with the Mandelbulb Big Render tool. So I hope you're enjoying this series. When we come back, we're going to merge the stuff together and keep this fun going. All right? I'll see you there. Good.